Hello everyone. I am so happy to see you again, and I hope you are all doing well. I'm getting ready to make a batch of English muffins, and the reason I need the English muffins is because I want to use them in a recipe for Eggs Benedict Casserole. I found the casserole recipe online, and it sounds very promising. So I have 1 cup of water here, and I'm going to add a ½ cup of whole milk. There we are. I'm going to heat this in the microwave just until it reaches about 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. Pour the mixture into a bowl, and then I need to add 2 1/4 teaspoons, which I think is 7 grams, of active dry yeast. Give this a quick stir. Now, if you know that your yeast is good, you do not have to proof it first. I know my yeast is very fresh and definitely viable. So now I need to add 2 1/2 cups or 340 grams of all-purpose flour. This recipe is very forgiving, so if you're a little over 340 grams, that's fine. And I'm going to stir this in the same direction 100 times to develop the gluten. And if you don't want to count, just keep stirring until the dough becomes so stiff that you cannot stir it any longer. Homemade English muffins are really easy to do. Of course, for the casserole, you could always use store-bought English muffins. I just prefer the flavor of my own homemade muffins. I need to cover this with a damp towel. And then I'm going to let this sit until the mixture becomes very bubbly. That will take about 90 minutes. While the English muffin batter is proofing, I think we should make a quick trip to Kinderhook Farm. I need to buy eggs there that we can use for both the casserole and for the hollandaise sauce that tops the casserole. I love this farm. I think you will love it too.
if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing about your heart. Maybe the trees will whisper the word. Maybe the sun will spread your joy to the ones who lost their hope.
We are home again, and I wanted to give you a close-up of these beautiful eggs from Kinderhook Farm. We need to add salt to our batter. As you can see, in 90 minutes it has turned very bubbly, and it is definitely alive. Instead of adding the salt directly to the batter, I'm going to dissolve it in some warm water. So I need 3 tablespoons of warm water, 2, 3, and I want 1½ teaspoons of regular table salt. In it goes, and then stir 25 revolutions in the same direction. Cover as before with a damp towel, and then I will let this sit until the batter becomes bubbly again. That will only take about 30 minutes. I'm going to bake the English muffins in my handy electric skillet here. These are the English muffin rings. I can link them in the description below if you feel like trying your hands at making English muffins. I used to have 6 rings. I don't know what happened to one of them. I only have 5 here. And I need to grease the rings. Let me fetch the batter. The goal is to fill the rings only about half full. Of course, this batter is very sticky. And then cover the skillet and let these bake for about 8 minutes. 8 minutes later, remove the rings, and they slip right off. Flip. Cover once more. And this other side only needs to cook for 4 to 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, our muffins are done. I'm going to put them on a cooling rack. And I have just enough batter left for, I think, 1 more muffin. We can go ahead and start assembling our Eggs Benedict Casserole. The first thing we need to do is split the English muffins and toast them. I like to do a fork split. So you just plunge a fork all around the edge of the muffin. And just look at all of these nooks and crannies. I will toast these muffins in my little toaster oven over here. I have to toast the English muffins in 2 batches since the toaster oven will only accommodate 3 at a time. So we might as well go ahead and cut up some Canadian bacon. Recipe says 8 ounces, and the recipe says to chop the Canadian bacon. And I will link the recipe in the description below. In rereading the recipe, it said to first cook the bacon in a skillet and then add the English muffins and toast them directly in the skillet. So I will do that with this bacon and with the remaining English muffins. We also need 1 bunch of scallions or green onions. We are to put the white part of the scallions in 1 bowl and the green in another. Let's cook our bacon, or actually, we only need to brown it because the bacon is already cooked. I'm going to add some butter to this because my instincts tell me to add butter. All right, the Canadian bacon has some color on it, so I'm going to remove it to a paper towel lined plate to drain. But I'm going to leave all of the fat in the skillet. Going to add a little more butter, and I'm certainly deviating from the recipe here. A splash of olive oil. And then we can toast the English muffins that did not fit in the toaster oven. And we'll do that right in the skillet. Here are my skillet toasted English muffins. I've let them cool briefly on this rack. Then, following the recipe, we are to cut these into bite-sized pieces. These homemade English muffins have so much more flavor and aroma than store-bought English muffins. But again, you could certainly use store-bought muffins for this recipe. I'm pretty sure that's what the recipe creator intended. Let me grab my toaster muffins. Then we are to put all of the toasted muffins in a greased 9 by 13 baking dish. Sorry, I have to eat one of these. So good. Now we need to sprinkle the bacon over the toasted muffin pieces. This bacon smells fantastic, and I am really glad that I added butter to the skillet. Next, we add the chopped white part of the scallions onto the custard. Here are the beautiful, beautiful eggs that we purchased at Kinderhook Farm. I need 6 of them. And whisk. A lot of custard recipes tell us to put the eggs and the milk together in a bowl and then whisk. It's really hard to do. So I always whisk the eggs first. Now I need to add 2 cups or about 480 mils of whole milk. Whisk that in. Much easier to do since the eggs are already beaten. Grinds of black pepper. And 1 teaspoon of salt. This is a ½ teaspoon here, so I need 2. And then we simply pour this custard over the ingredients in the baking dish. I like to push the pieces of English muffin into the custard to make sure they are fully submerged. Then we need to let the English muffins absorb the custard for at least 8 hours or for up to 16 hours. So I'm going to cover this dish with cling film, pop it into the refrigerator, and then we can bake it off when it's had its good soak. To ensure that the scallion greens remain crisp and fresh, I'm going to put them in this paper towel lined bowl and put the lid on. And this will go into the refrigerator. I'm going out to dinner at a friend's house tonight, so we will bake off our Eggs Benedict Casserole tomorrow. Nighty-night. Hello again. It's the next day. My Eggs Benedict Casserole was in the refrigerator overnight, and I will have to make a hollandaise sauce for it. I'm going to preheat the oven while the casserole achieves close to room temperature. And while that's happening, I want to arrange some flowers for the entrance hall. So I'm going to put this aside. So my oven is preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. And look at the flowers I picked up this morning. So I have some greens. I have delphinium, snapdragons, campanula, and some giant allium. So I'm going to do the arrangement in this china bowl, which I will then place on the tall urn that's in the entrance hall. So let's move all of this into the entrance hall. Besides the greens from the flower shop, I also have some Texas Hicksii from my garden. I'm here. It is pouring rain outside, and these flowers are making me feel very happy. I have no idea what I'm doing whenever I create a flower arrangement. I just go for it, and I hope you will too. I'm going to clean up this table, and then we can have a closer look at the arrangement. Since I had a few stems of yellow alstroemeria left over from a previous arrangement, I decided to add them to this entrance hall subject. Alstroemeria gives this arrangement a pleasant splash of sunshine. It's time to put the casserole in the oven. I will let it bake for 40 minutes. Meantime, we can prepare the hollandaise sauce that goes over the top. On to the hollandaise. This is a buttery, lemony sauce. And the first thing we need is 6 egg yolks from large eggs. I'm going to put the whites over here because I can freeze them for a future souffle. And if you are looking for a great souffle, I can highly recommend my strawberry souffle. We filmed the video for you some time ago. Egg whites into the freezer. To the egg yolks, I need to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. The mustard is an emulsifier. And a teaspoon of salt. I need to process this egg mixture for just 5 seconds. And then we need to melt 1 cup or 227 grams of butter. I'm going to melt this in the microwave. We're going to slowly add the butter while the blender is running at medium speed until we get a thick, delicious hollandaise. This is beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous, rich, lemony, buttery hollandaise. And here is our gorgeous Eggs Benedict Casserole. This thing smells just like traditional Eggs Benedict, which of course has poached eggs as opposed to an egg custard. Now I'm going to pour about a half cup of the hollandaise over the casserole. And I will transfer the remaining hollandaise to a little pitcher so that guests can serve themselves. I am garnishing this Eggs Benedict casserole with a shower of paprika and a sprinkling of the green scallion that you and I prepared yesterday. I'm going to quickly light a fire in the parlor fireplace, and then we can bring this beauty into the parlor. Since this is a brunch-type dish, I think we should serve it with a brunch-type beverage, mimosas. I have been waiting since yesterday to try this casserole. If it tastes anything like it smells, I will be happy indeed. This Eggs Benedict casserole is just heavenly. I love everything about it, from the homemade English muffins, to the egg custard, to the Canadian bacon, to the garnish of green onion, and the topping of hollandaise sauce. It's really just perfect. And remember, you do not have to use homemade English muffins in order to enjoy this casserole. Store-bought is perfectly fine. And again, I will post the recipe for this delightful Eggs Benedict casserole in the description below. Thank you so much for spending time with me today as we made this beautiful casserole, and we visited a farm store, and we arranged flowers. I really appreciate your company. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I can post a couple of my other videos after this one that you can watch between now and my next upload. Until then, please treat yourself very well, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, friends.